Do not attempt to adjust your Wi-Fi signal. There is presumably nothing wrong with your screen. This is not a dimension of imagination, but one of raw reality. The signpost up ahead, it includes your final destination. Gander at it for a moment, and you'll see. You've entered the appointed hour. I'm your host, Philip Raymond. We come here tonight in our inaugural broadcast to try to bring you something I would describe as the Rowan and Martin's laugh-in of the 21st century. A bit of a zoom-in. Variety show, documentary, circus, occasional political bullshit, because you can't avoid that in 2021. The whole reason I conceived doing this was the socially distant nature of our lives. We're going to have segments from people around the world, mostly friends of mine already, but the show's going to develop as it goes along. It's something I got from watching the Friedkin documentary about director William Friedkin. Was you just kind of do it in one take, nail it, it's in the can, and you move on. You're going to hear me saying that all the time because I'm trying to throw this thing together. Getting a little bored during the pandemic, and I figure this is a good way to do content. Maybe if we get someone to hold a camera, we can start to do feature films on here. I don't know, YouTube fam, you tell me all about it. What can be done? Give me some ideas. We're developing this literally as we go. Don't really want to walk back up that hill. I'm just gonna lay down. Welcome, YouTube, to the inaugural broadcast. The appointed hour. This is the tomb of imagination. This is really hard to get down. This final shot, when I get down here, get closer. Not until I get down. We're about to travel through time to Washington, D.C., March of 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, where I spent the time with Ralph, 77-year-old pimp and hustler, who taught me a lot about life, a lot about love. Feast your eyes. All right. Why is it that he's my president and not our president and your
Because
president?
you aspire to the same goals. You want to be a multi-millionaire with a cardboard wife.
You know, I'm not inclined to argue with that premise. It makes me sad, though, because now I have to own up to this fella, this grifter, that we call the Commander-in-Chief.
The fastest moving person I ever saw in my life was yesterday. I couldn't fucking believe it. Seriously.
You couldn't believe it.
That you could move so fucking fast.
So
I had problems about wondering how the hell you were going to interview laying in bed.
Yeah, that's true. Ugh. I'm out of breath. But one take. It's one take, people. The show's about truth. It's about something. We're going to find out what it's about as it goes, but it's definitely not about two takes. I don't have time for that. So, with that in mind, we now journey through the tomb, not through time, but through space, back to Washington, D.C., which we check in on Ralph in the present day.
Thinking about the numbers for the mega million dollar prize. $1, maybe $2. Come up here. And we do $5 ticket. And for time,
Oh, I'm just learning now that we have footage from my man in the field in Washington, D.C., Donovan.
Maybe do a dramatic close-up. Are we still safe? And then we pan out, maybe see all these assholes everywhere. Yeah.
All of this is closed off down through here.
Look at that. This is off. Independence and
Cannot get through there.
New Jersey indeed.
New Jersey
We
indeed.
can walk through there. These gates aren't usually there. Usually we walk right through there.
What am I doing? What are you doing? It's late. I don't have any more time for segments right now. I'm out here foraging for nuts and berries like a dog. Smell my money. $3,000 suits. Got a $10,000 watch. Ain't got money left to eat. It's moments like this that I look to our next segment from our call, Cooking with the Cuse. That's right, Brandon Mancusso gonna tell us how to eat, how to live. Dig it.
Welcome to Cooking with Cuse. I'm Brandon Mancusso, and I want to go over a few things with you about cooking oils. Mainly, we're going to focus on olive oil, and I just want to kind of show you what to expect with olive oil when you're cooking. So the first thing is you should always get your olive oil in dark glass bottles. It preserves the olive oil, and this is what I was told when I went to Italy, making sure that it stays in a dark bottle. I prefer when you're sauteing using extra virgin olive oil. Sorry if that term offends or triggers some people, but that's what we're looking to do here, is to use that extra virgin olive oil for your sauteing. A lot of recipes call for it. If you can't get it in a clear glass bottle or a dark glass bottle, I would suggest going with a oil dispenser that is glass and dark. You can get these at a lot of different places. Now, just a couple of the other oils that you may come across. You may come across some cooking spray. Now, that's great for non-stick. If you're cooking an egg, cooking pancakes, things like that, you don't want it to stick to the pan. Even if you have a non-stick pan, you might want to try to use that. You don't want to get stuck eggs. You're making breakfast for somebody in the morning, they may not be too happy with you after the fact if you got eggs that stick to the pan. Lastly, I'm just going to talk quickly about something, corn oil. Now, being from Iowa, living in Iowa, I'm from Massachusetts, but living in Iowa, one of the things you're gonna come across is corn oil. Corn oil is great for frying. Now, if you're deep frying, say, chicken, French fries, things like that, you want to go with a corn oil. It crisps things up real nice. Now, those are the oils. Remember, when cooking with oil, be very, very careful. Oil can cause fires. You don't want a fire. It's very bad. So what I say, don't have a fire in your house. So those are just the basics of the oil. Hope to see you again very soon on this Cooking with Cuse segment.
I came to Danbury to do but three things. Order up some sushi, take a dump, and pay my respects to John Oliver. The beautiful symmetry about the whole thing, I gotta say. I'm not sure if we're getting Eric and Mike or just Eric, because I shot this insert before they sent me their video. So you're gonna find out about the same time I am within the context of this video. Now look out on the horizon to New Hampshire and enjoy this next clip.
I have a podcast of my own called Jackman Radio, but this looks like it's going to be a cool project, and I'm happy to be part of it. So there's just so much going on right now. It's hard to even really know where to start. I mean, the obvious place is to talk about, God King Lord Trump, who had, I think people are saying, probably the most successful presidency of all time, like ever in the history of presidencies. I set so many records, okay? I had an incredible economy. We had Operation Warp Speed to fight the illegal Chinese virus that came here. It was a terrible gift from China. It was the illegal communist Chinese Kung Flu. It was horrible. Should have never happened. I beat Bill Clinton. I did. I beat Bill Clinton on impeachments. I was impeached twice. That loser was only impeached once. So, I mean, that's pretty unbelievable. That's a record that people thought would never be broken, and I broke it. And I broke it big league, okay? But yeah, we saw the 45th president impeached twice, and from what I'm hearing, it looks like the Senate is probably going to convict him. That motherfucker, Mitch McConnell, got everything he needed and wanted out of Trump. He used them up. He got 3 Supreme Court justices who were all part of the Federalist Society, played him like a fiddle, kissed his ass when he needed to, and then got the Supreme Court picks that he wanted. So those are going to be, some of the biggest gains and victories for the Republicans out of, making their deal with the devil with Trump. But I think the Senate's going to convict him, and if they convict him, it sounds like he will not be able to run for president again. He'll lose his pension. He'll lose Secret Service protection, the travel budget, so he'd have to come up with gas for Trump Force One out of his own pocket. So I'm interested to see what kind of subscription platform, pay thing he sets up. I'm thinking about setting up an OnlyFans, quite frankly. I think a lot of people would be very interested in Trump's OnlyFans, where you could have access to a 24/7 live stream at me in Mar-a-Lago, me in Bedminster, me in Turnberry over in Scotland, where my mother was from. My mother was an amazing woman. I never met her. She could walk in this room right now. I wouldn't know what she looked like, but she was an incredible lady, and she loved me very, very much the 3 times that she held me. But a lot of people are excited to see what the King's going to do next, so we'll all keep our eyes on that. And then one of my favorite members of Congress, and obviously the candidate I worked for President, Tulsi Gabbard, the former congresswoman from Hawaii. I got her sign back there next to my portrait of JFK. JFK, who I love, by the way. She just launched her podcast called This is Tulsi, and she joined a really cool platform called Locals, which I joined since she did. And you pay a small fee every month, and it's a platform of people who are sick of trolls, who are sick of censorship, who are just sick of bullshit. And Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report, I think, founded it, and he brought Tulsi on board. And it sounds like they might be getting Ron Paul to join, which would be really cool. So kind of independent-minded people politically. So if you're looking for something that's clutter-free and a really cool platform, check out locals.com. I'm on there. Tulsi's on there, Dave Rubin's on there, and I think some other cool people will be joining. But I think that about wraps up the 4 minutes of this news segment from Jackman Radio, your reporter in the field. Philip, I hope much more to come with this endeavor, and looking forward to seeing where it goes. Lots of love, lots of light, and remember, everybody, you only live once. Be good to each other, and if you can't be good, be best.
I like to walk in a cemetery at sundown, not only to be reminded of my own mortality, but to relish in the atmosphere. Makes me think of such films as 1978's Halloween, starring an intrepid bald man, Donald Pleasance. Our next guest, believe it or not, is one of my favorite bald men in Washington, D.C., Christian Hunt, host of Bread Soda Trivia and the Blackfin Ameripub. He's going to take us on a deep dive into the recesses of darkness within our own souls. There's something.
Here are the Exorcist stairs. You can see them kind of behind me as I walk. built in 1895. They were a connection to M Street and Prospect Street. They still are. Built with the Georgetown Car Barn, which is the building you'll see at the top of the stairs. Very, very popular tourist site. It's taken me a lot of patience. There's been workouts and other things going on to try to get these shots in to get up the stairs. And I'm also not in the best shape. I used to run these in high school, but now not so much anymore. So this is gonna take a little bit out of me. But I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up the shot either. Oh, there we go. There it is. Still keeping those daunting stairs in the shot there. So obviously they are made famous by the 1973 film The Exorcist. The plaque, as you saw in the very beginning, was a commemoration of that, of I believe the 50th anniversary. But a little more about the stunt. The stunt coordinator lined all 97 steps with foam rubber. And the stuntman dove from the set facade twice. 2 times to get the proper shot. Dove from the top of the steps to get it. And he did twice. Apparently he told Jason Miller, the actor who played Damien Karras, that it was total zen, total consciousness, non-resistance was how he was able to do that and not severely injure himself. When I was in high school, there was rumors of kids who used to try to bike down these stairs. I know of one kid who did and really messed himself up. He was a friend from high school. But anyway, back to the movie. As it is the culmination of the 1973 film, The Exorcist. And now, obviously, a popular tourist and workout attraction as we reach the top of the stairs. I think that's all the facts that I wanted to include. Oh shit. Trying to think of anything else. It's hard. Trying to keep going at the top of the stairs. Because you could probably guess, I'm only doing this once. This is one take today, because like I said, I'm not in the shape I used to be. But I'll show you the view from the way down. Covered the stairs and thrown himself out. Oh yeah, that was another thing that Jason Miller said, that the Georgetown students they lined up at this wall behind me and charged $5 a ticket to watch the infamous stunt at the end of the film. So, as you can see, we're at the top now. You can see behind me, that's a long way down. It's a long one, as you can see. But that is today's DMVideos. I hope you all enjoyed it. Be safe out there. Wear your masks. You can see mine's under my chin, but because you can hear me. But yeah, always wear your masks. Thanks, everybody. God, that was tough. Boom, boom.
You have to pretend like every moment is the moment someone turned this on.
No, we don't. We won't get anywhere.
No, you do. You do it. You gotta do it in a subtle way. Like wrap it back sometimes.
We're about to wrap back. If you have any comments about Dungeons and Dragons, if you want to buy the games, go to your local game store. If you want to call in and talk about it, call 203-265-6310. We'd love to hear your opinions on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Next week we will have a proper review of the books.
We make a lot of bold claims.
Yeah, Joe,
you just aren't coming true.
Nothing you say is consistent with what you do.
Yeah, it's next week we got a demo for this. Next week we got footage of that. Never.
Yeah, you're always saying, we're going to have a live video. Well, it turns out it's not live. Turns out I'm not going to do it.
You know, we always make these big plans and it always just comes out to nothing.
And then you slam your phone. That can't sound good on the air.
I slam the phone when I get agitated. You guys give me a lot of angina.
Jeez. That's a vocabulary word we're going to leave off every episode from now on.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, but
it's a
don't like the way it
hurricane.
sounds.
Yes. It's not even a real one.
No. Agita's not the real one.
No, angina is not the real one.
Joe, I gave you a stress fracture the last time you gave me this much lift.
Alright, speaking of stress fractures and video segments that did not happen because somebody's just like, I'm partying, I can't pick up the camera. When I was walking...
No. He never contacted me. I don't even have a phone. I have a pager which doesn't connect to anything anymore.
Let's talk about Connecticut and my stress fracture. I was walking around the floor, and it was very hard concrete, and I have a stress fracture in my shin.
I mean the leg. Stop it.
I am just trying to get comfortable.
Okay, so you're walking around on the floor.
It's concrete.
Tough.
It's like...
You got hurt by a solid.
What do you mean concrete?
earth.
The convention center? It's carpet.
No, it's carpet. It's in there, carpet over the big concrete. In the room I was in, the gaming room,
You were
it was
sitting.
all concrete.
You were sitting, and that much pressure hurt your foot.
It hurt. Walking around hurt my leg.
You barely moved. How can you possibly have
We
hurt
got a
yourself?
definition of that. Just I want to see. I want to make sure we know exactly what we're dealing
Joe, I
with.
want you to do a couple squats.
I'm not doing a
Can
couple
you pop
squats.
a couple squats?
Did you
I'm
squat?
not gonna pop the squat anyway.
Why?
You know that implies?
No. It implies you're going to squat on the ground like any human being just squats.
Joe, we're playing at the rules of nature right now. Look at the backdrop.
I don't wanna-
Anything goes on the set.
You can squat in the woods.
Squat.
Popping a squat means something.
No.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
All right, studio audience. True or false? Popping a squat means something you do not want me to do on air.
Joe, why are
Doesn't mean
you?
anything.
They're not interested in this conversation.
It means
True, yeah,
no.
true.
One person said that. That doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah. Pop a
You can pop a
squat.
squat.
This is not happening.
Joe, so like seriously, how did you really get this pain? Was it a specific moment or just gradually?
Gradually walking. Something.
So you love this convention so much that you were like, I'm just gonna cripple myself as much as possible.
You just stomped your way around in flip flops, I bet.
That gives the foot and the leg no support, no structure.
Okay, you're not on
Look
the
at these
Look
flip
at
flops.
this.
Look at
This is what showing.
Big
showing-
man
Look at
around,
the
just
cameraman.
flopping around like
Look at the
a
cameraman.
sausage in a store.
Look at this.
One. Go to one.
Pure timing right now.
Joe, do I tell the orders around here or you?
Whoa,
Producer's laying it
yeah.
down.
So this is why Joe
See,
got a stretch
there's
fracture.
support here.
Show the bottom of that.
There's support here. You see,
What is it supporting?
It flips and
The
flops.
bottom of your foot?
Does it grip your foot?
Oh my god.
It's support.
No
It's-
ankle
Wow,
support.
that's an intense close-up.
There's no ankle support. There's nothing on.
I didn't break my ankle. I broke a bone in my
That's
shin.
because your foot's like slip this way, slip that way, slipping around. It has no support. It goes any which way you want. You flop your foot down without looking where you're putting it, and it's coming apart at the seams.
The Connecticut was overall enjoyable.
That's good. This is a shoe.
Thank
This
you.
is what you use
You
when
need
you're
some
traveling around. You need like grips. You need.
Yeah, holds the ankle.
Oh, there's
holds
like
the foot.
there's padding in this. This thing is a New Balance. New Balance shoe. Pick it up. Don't
My
wear
sandals
sandals.
are New Balance.
Don't wear 'em. I don't give a hoot. Ugh! YouTube, what are you still doing here? I was just looking at my dry goods for Goya Beans, a proud sponsor of Democracy Everywhere, both at home and abroad, which is where we're heading for our next segment, which is to cover the situation in North Korea. Turns out if Dennis Rodman can travel there, I can have a friend that's actually been there. That's reasonable, isn't it? This gentleman is a horror film producer. Has done such projects as The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs and the remake of Castle Freak. He's also authored the book Eternal Troubadour, The Life of Tiny Tim. That's Justin Martell, coming to you live.
I believe I've been introduced as some sort of North Korea expert, and the truth is I'm not, but the reality is that yes, I have been there a few times and do have some experience with the Hermit Kingdom, so I can certainly talk about that. But a little bit about me. I work in film and TV. I run a small record label called Ship to Shore Phono Co. And we do everything from video game to movie soundtracks to original artists to classic reissues. A little bit of everything. The catalog's quite eclectic. I've also written extensively and wrote the official biography on the late 60s entertainer Tiny Tim. I'm also a big fan of Tsingtao beer, which... I've had a few of these tonight. I've had a couple. Each year it seems that the North Korean nuclear threat or the specter of nuclear war brought on by a nuclear-armed North Korea is something that we're very concerned with and that we talk about. But I feel like, I think that in the press and, sort of by certain people, these issues get portrayed as black and white, when in fact they're many shades of gray. And that's why I want to talk about what Trump did and why that matters and why what I think Biden can do to improve upon it. Now, I'm not going to get into these rhetoric. And when I say rhetoric, I mean we're legitimizing the North Korean leader. He's a despot, there's all these human rights abuses, blah, blah, blah. We shouldn't legitimize him. We need to isolate him. Well, the reality is that the political And economic isolation of North Korea is what has led us to this position that we're in, where we essentially have a rogue state that now has nuclear weapons, and that has made the prospect of using conventional warfare to eliminate that threat unrealistic, because obviously they could easily eliminate our allies, South Korea, which are right on their doorstep. And of course, we don't want to have a situation that spills over and create a war with China, just as we had during the Korean War. So the reality is, as much as we want to say these things like, oh, we don't want to legitimize the North Korean leader, we don't want to meet with the North Koreans at their own level, we don't essentially want to treat them with respect. Well, I'm sorry, but we have to deal with the world as it exists. Not everything is, there are despots, there are dictators. And which even, by the way, Bernie Sanders, who you could say was the complete opposite politically of Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders said that this was 100% the right thing to do. And Donald Trump said that he would be the first president to meet with Kim Jong-un. Now, a lot of people said that was motivated for selfish reasons, that he wanted the political recognition that he saw as very important to his legacy to meet with Kim Jong-un, to possibly be the president that solved the North Korean problem. Well, whatever his motivations were, I don't really care about that. The reality is that him doing that, despite a sort of very rocky and tumultuous start at the beginning of Trump's presidency, where he threatened fire and fury against the North Koreans, the reality was, though, that was rhetoric that North Korea could understand, because that's the type of things that North Korea says all the time. They say that they're going to, envelope the U.S. or South Korea in a sea of fire and things of that nature. So Trump kind of met Kim Jong-un at his own level, and that culminated in them meeting several times. That culminated in Trump being the first U.S. president to cross the DMZ, which was, I think, again, say what you want about President Trump, but that was smooth as silk. And that was the right thing to do. I think that the mistake that Trump made was not going full Trump with the situation, because the reality is America has been banging its head against the wall trying to solve this issue. And essentially, every time we get into these negotiations with the North Koreans, starting with the first North Korean nuclear crisis, when we ended up sending former President Jimmy Carter to meet with Kim Il-sung. And basically, we keep demanding that North Korea give up all its nuclear weapons before we'll even deal with them, before we'll open an embassy, before we'll lift any of the sanctions. And it's just not going to work that way. North Korea has suffered, and they've allowed their people to suffer in order to build these nuclear weapons, so that essentially as their vanguard against traditional war, so that they will never be attacked, because they've watched what happened in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, what happened in Libya with Gaddafi, what's happened in Syria with Assad. So they're not going to be so foolish as to give up their nuclear weapons in exchange for better relations with the West. They would just rather let their people toil under sanctions and and do their thing and have the nuclear weapons so that Kim Jong-un can stay in power. And again, we could sit all day and talk about how horrible those things are, or from our perspective, how horrible we think those things are, but that doesn't really get us anywhere. So I think that if Trump had gone full Trump, and the real thing that you actually have to do, and this is actually what a lot of people haven't talked about with respect to what Trump did, is that what he initially started talking about, which was a sort of piecemeal denuclearization scenario where North Korea would, destroy this nuclear facility, and then we'd open an embassy. North Korea would destroy that thing with respect to the nuclear program, and then we would lift these sanctions, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the approach that needs to be taken. And actually, the closest president who came to doing something like that was Bill Clinton. I don't know if people remember, but at the end of the 90s, Bill Clinton sent Madeleine Albright to meet with Kim Jong-il. And that was essentially what they were working out, was that there was going to be a sort of staggered North Korean denuclearization approach. They did this in the twilight of the Clinton administration, thinking that Al Gore was going to win the 2000 election. He didn't. And then the Bush administration proceeded to undo everything, all the good work that the Clinton administration had done. One of the people who was instrumental in that, of course, was John Bolton, who then, for some reason, Trump put on his negotiation team when he was negotiating with Kim Jong-un. So that's mistake number one. So essentially, I think that what Trump tried to do could have been successful had he not listened to his advisors, people like John Bolton, and actually went forward with or attempted a staggered denuclearization approach. I think he listened to his critics in the media. I think he listened to his critics on the left. And it's funny, on the critics on the left who basically said all the things that the right said when Clinton tried to do this. Oh, he's legitimizing the dictator. He's given them everything. In fact, he really didn't give Kim Jong-un very much other than legitimization just by having a meeting. He's giving him all this, blah, blah. And I think that ultimately that stopped Trump from going full Trump. So what I think Biden can do, now I'm going to appeal to people on the left who want to completely undo Trump's legacy. Okay? So if we want to completely undo Trump's legacy, and by the way, the good thing that Trump making friends with Kim Jong-un did was it basically put a moratorium on North Korean nuclear tests. I think there was something like 5 nuclear tests. I'll have to verify that number, but there were multiple nuclear tests under the Obama administration because the Obama administration had a policy of strategic patience where they wouldn't meet with the North Koreans. They wouldn't really talk with the North Koreans. Certainly wouldn't legitimize Kim Jong-un with a meeting. And there you go. It was under Obama that we got the nuclear weapons. So again, the success of what Trump did, just by engaging Kim Jong-un on a friendly level, was that moratorium on nuclear tests. I mean, you can't debate that. That's just as a statement of fact, and that was a positive outcome of what he did. So I think what Biden can do if he wants to completely undo Trump's legacy and he wants to be the person to actually solve the North Korean puzzle is he needs to engage Kim Jong-un, meet with him without preconditions, and put into place a staggered denuclearization approach where North Korea destroys and gives up parts of its nuclear program in exchange for various concessions from the United States and the United Nations. And only that I think that's it. I think that's the approach he needs to take. Are we ever going to get a completely denuclearized North Korea? Probably not, but that's okay. We want to say that North Korea can't have nuclear weapons because Kim Jong-un's a madman and all this stuff. No. Say what you want about his domestic policies, and they might be crazy and they might be insane, at least to commentators on the West. But the fact is that he's actually been entirely rational, and they actually have set a goal, have done it, and they now have protection against Kim Jong-un being taken out in the same way that other dictators have been taken out. So will they ever give up? Will there ever be a point that they will give up everything? I don't know. But I think that we could probably significantly reduce their nuclear capabilities, their nuclear arsenal, and them manufacturing new nuclear weapons with a staggered approach and with direct engagement. So in that sense, Biden should continue what Trump was doing in terms of engagement, but where he can differ and where he can outdo Trump and actually improve upon better that whole thing is with a staggered approach. You don't need long-range missile systems in South Korea to defend against the North Korean threat. The long-range missile systems are in South Korea to help with a larger policy of Chinese and Russian containment. And North Korea is a very convenient boogeyman for the military-industrial complex in terms of maintaining that status quo. Or we want North Korea to collapse, which we've been trying to make happen with sanctions for decades, in which case the Korean Peninsula can be united under the South's terms, backed by the U.S., and then be on China and Russia's doorstep. And that's
Low Tech Solutions here at the Appointed Hour podcast. That was Justin Martell. Well, YouTube fan. Where you go? Well, YouTube community. It seems the sun has set on another day, and our first look at the Appointed Hour. I hope you found it as informative as I did, because I'd like to, in these distant times, create a snapshot of what our lives are in this world that's unfolding. Hopefully, we maybe I'll get something out of it. If not, I'm going to keep doing it, and it will just evolve the way it evolves. It's an organic show. Doesn't have really any specificities. I would appreciate it, of course, if you could contribute anything. Can you buy me maybe a better camera than my cell phone? Maybe some sound equipment? I don't know. We're zero budget right now, so look in the link for the Patreon, my links to Instagram, Twitter, and what have you, Facebook, I suppose. And we'll go from there. Give me your comments, give me your thoughts, give me your prayers. And I hope to see you again next time.
Oh yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe.